Hi, this is Paul Neale from Pen Productions. What I'm going to do now is show how to take the barrel that I did in the previous video and I'm going to texture it, but it's going to be a little unique because I'm actually going to texture it with a pre-existing texture. So I have some textures I've done. This one includes, pieces of wood as well as a chunk of metal, and it has an alpha as well for some fasteners and whatnot. Now I have to do a lot of texturing like this for games so that I could reuse the texture map over and over again. I could reuse this texture map on boxes and everything else because I'm not unwrapping it and then sending it over to Substance and then going ahead and painting a unique texture just for this asset. This is a small asset. It's in a video game. Nobody's ever going to notice. If you look at it, it looks pretty darn good right now. And I haven't touched Substance Painter. I painted the texture before I made the barrel actually. So let's unhide the barrel itself. And we also have these pieces, and I'll explain those in a second as we go. So with this, I'm just going to hide off those pieces. Let's go ahead and start working with this. One, I have the material already made, and it looks a little fancy, but it's really not. It's just the base texture here. I have a normal map for it, and what I've done is I've just done a little bit of roughness work with a color correction and a transparent, the alpha is pumped into the transparency, and that's for the little cards that I'm going to show you on the fasteners. So it's nothing fancy here, but I didn't have a roughness map for it yet, so we'll go with this. So I'm going to apply this on there, just tapping A, and let's hit M and close this off. So now with an unwrap modifier, let's go in here, and we're just going to open it up. And I'm going to do select all, and I'm going to do planar map just to get rid of all of the UVs off it. I'm going to slide it out of the UV space. With select by angle on, I'm going to select the top, and I'm just going to press OK, and I can start unwrapping. Well, how did I get to where I was going with this? Well, if I open up the where it says checker pattern, you can see that you have access to the maps that you're using. So I'm going to pick the color map in here, show that color map. And I'm just going to grab both of these and go and pull this down so it crosses over patterns there. Well, you can see the top has now been set up and it's done. So the top and the bottom are already done because I'm just reusing the texture that exists. I'm just going to say hide selected. And then we can go about breaking off other things. So one of the pieces that might be easiest to break off will be each of the metal pieces and lay them out. So in edge mode, I'm going to double click and I'm going to go around and just do that for each one around the base of it. And then I'm do that around the top of each one. And then we can just break them in here. So I'm going to right click break, or you can hit the break and break off those pieces. So you'll see that there's lines in there now. I want to pick a location for the seam because we're going to need to have some sort of seam on each one. And I'm just going to say break. So each of those have been broken out. Poly mode, I can select each of these pieces now, just do a quick peel on them, but of course they're not straight, so I can then use the straighten. And the straighten though, however, you'll notice that there's these extra edges. There's the sides, the top and bottom. When I hit straighten, it's going to get rid of those. So what I'm going to do is just do the custom relax, just one hit, and there you go. It straighten itself out. I'm going to grab the top middle, hold down control so it rotates it to 90 degrees. And then I'm just going to go in and grab a chunk of that metal that's on there. And if I wanted to get really fancy, I could even pay attention to lining up the vertices top and bottom so they don't have a seam, because this metal texture has been painted as tileable from top to bottom. But now you'll see that I have a piece of metal. I'm just going to turn off map seams here, so you can see as it goes. And I'm going to break each one of those and lay it out. Now you'll notice I've actually overlapped some of these and they're sitting right on top of one another. It really doesn't matter if they are or not. It looks perfectly fine. So you can see it's looking fine. It's got metal all the way around. I'm going to grab all those pieces. I'm going to hide them because they're done now. And I've got the top and bottom hidden out. And so we can start working on these side panels and working around the side panels. So Easiest way to do that in this case is I'm going to select each one of these. That's going to be one of the panels. I'm going to go quick planar map over here. I'm going to straighten them out. And then I'm just going to take them and drop them onto a chunk of the wood texture. Now, what I want to pick up are these corner dark lines. They've been drawn in there very purposefully. I'm going to go to my scale and just hold down the shift while I scale, so it scales it only sideways. Those ones look good, and I'm going to pull that out, maybe just shove it over a little bit. And again, the same thing. I'm going to go back over and just scale that one out. And if you wanted, you could even scale it up and move it down a little bit, pick up some of that wood texture. So those have been picked up now. And once again, you'll see that that looks pretty good. That's actually, done from top to bottom there. It is lined it up nicely. It looks really good. And I can go around and I can, correct that now all the way around the model. So we can go ahead and generate the UVs for each of these pieces, one at a time. Now the top pieces, I'm going to turn off the select by angle, and we can do those kind of one at a time. So I'm just going to grab these and just go and say hide. These top pieces need to have end grain, and that's what the end grain here is for. So if I say quick planar map, then I can go ahead and grab these, rotate them around to however they need to be, and place them up in the corner and size them down one at a time so they pick up that end grain and they look correct. I'm just going to turn off my angle snap, and now you'll see that there's end grain on each of these. Do they totally match up? No. Is anybody ever going to notice? Probably not. So I can also do the same thing on the inside and lay it just on a piece of this, or lay out in chunks of 3 if I want, because I don't see that very well. But now I'm going to go about, putting all those pieces down and just breaking down each single one of those in that exact same pattern over and over again to get the wood grains going where I need them to be. Now, something you can do is you can do a bit of cheating. I'm just going to hide this one off and go back to the finished one. You actually see I have a couple more modifiers here. Well, the top had been completed here. You can see that it is done all the way around. And I wanted to do the bottom as well. So all I did in this case, keeping the stack intact, mostly again for being able to show this, down in the edit poly, I deleted the bottom in the inside edge and whatnot. So I got rid of that, the sort of the inside edge and the very bottom edge, threw a mirror modifier on it and made sure that the center point was at the center. I had to use the align tool to do that. And in Y, and I set it on copy. Now you can't use the symmetry for this. Symmetry won't work on selections. So I had to use the mirror modifier, which means it's not welded. So then I just went ahead and welded it all together. So that it's welding the vertices back into the model again. Lo and behold, the whole thing's done. Now, what about these little planes? So each one of these planes is using the exact same shader. So it's using this same shader, except I've taken the plane and I've unwrapped it right onto, a chunk of, one of those, fasteners. I've unwrapped it onto it. You can see it's right here, and it is unwrapped onto it. I use the array modifier to array it out from the center. So I left it actually aligned to the center of the barrel, so it was dead center. And then just a bit of rotation and some offset in the radius of the radial. And then I used a symmetry on it, or you could use a mirror on it and drop it on the bottom. Do that, copy it down. Middle one obviously just doesn't need the mirror symmetry. And essentially, you're done. You have a barrel now. All I got to do is attach all of these to this, collapse it down, and attach all these, and I'll have a finished barrel. So it's nice because we can reuse our textures, and we can use very little texture space, but get really nice looking assets. No need to go and have to paint everything and have unique texture maps for everything in this fashion. It is more efficient on game engines, and it's even efficient if you're doing feature film work. Wouldn't it be great if you could load one texture map and have it show up on 200 objects? There you go.